Morning. Guess who? This is Clydo again. Hey, just want to give a heads up to radio amateurs out there, all over the United States and the world. Here in the United States, it's getting towards summer and it's into spring, but the South is warm, getting warmer all the time. The Northeast is starting to get a little warmer. It's forecasted to on Friday. This coming Friday is supposed to have on the 26th of March. It's forecasted to have possible thunderstorms. Just possibly. I mean, it's not imminent, but you never know. Right now, it's the forecast for this area is just cloudy and maybe a few breaks of sun later on in the morning, with a high temperature of about 60 degrees. I looked out my window a few minutes ago and you can see where the fog is starting to settle in a little bit. They call it the ceiling. The level of the clouds is dropping down a little bit. So, I mean, the hills around here are about 900 to 1,200 feet. So, about 1,000 feet is where the ceiling is right now. Okay, so lightning protection and lightning safety. From just about mid to end of April till about September. That's the time period right there where when you leave your ham shack, make sure you have all your power sources disconnected. That's number one. Number two, make sure all your antennas are grounded, and if you don't have a proper ground, just disconnect them. Just have a place where you can readily get to the antenna connections and unscrew the coax or the BNC or whatever connectors you get. Just make a big gap between them. Yeah, like I said, the power sources, make sure those are disconnected, or just trip the breaker, whatever, throw the breaker switch off. But don't rely on just the breaker switch on being off. Make sure power cords are disconnected from everything. Now, if you're living in a building like I am that has, it's a huge building. It's an apartment building, and the power sources here, electrical power, is pretty well protected. I mean, there's grounding everywhere, and all my radio equipment is grounded to a cold water pipe, and it works out pretty good. So make sure you've got a really good ground that works. Okay, and just make sure that the antenna connect. I can't stress that enough because and people will say, "Oh well, the thunderstorm is way off in the distance. I don't need to worry about that." Well, you'd be surprised how far lightning travels. I'll tell you a couple of instances. It was a bright sunny day. There was supposed to be some thunderstorms around in the western part of Vermont. It wasn't forecast to be around here. Maybe a 10% chance in the mountains, but nothing around here. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, nothing to worry about. So, so I went off, off somewhere or whatever. I came back that night at home here. Oh, well, this is my new home, the other home I had. So I go in. I decide to draw a pot of cold water and put on the stove and cook some potatoes. So I put the pot underneath the faucet. I turned the faucet and walked away. I come back. There's no water in the pot. I turn the pot. hell's going on here? No water. Well, let's go check it out. So I go down the basin and I go into the my electrical room and I check the breaker box and it, everything's normal. Nothing's been tripped. And on the wall, there's a control box. This is if you get an artesian well. There's a control box. It's got a big capacitor. Might have a transformer, but it's a big capacitor, in there. And so, I wanted in it. Boy, it's a wicked odor. Something burned. I pulled that box off, and I looked at the back of it, and it looked like to be honest, it looked like someone took a healthy shit inside that box. The capacitor was completely melted, and all the insulation, everything, just big blob in there. Oh boy, that ain't good. So I had a spare one, and I put that in. And I looked at the pressure gauge on the tank, and it read 0. So I go over and hit the pressure switch to reset it, to build the pressure up. And I hear it, and I put my ear against the tank, and I hear it go, click. Uh-oh, that don't sound good. So I hit the switch again, click. Oh, that's not a good sound. It goes for about 3 seconds and then dies. That is really not good. So I take my tester for continuity, and there's nothing. That is really not good. So I had the plumber come down. He checked the well. They pulled the pump out of the well, and it's down 500 feet. So they pulled it out and they checked the motor. The motor's about so long, that big around. And the thing was burnt. The thing was fried, beat to bad. The pump part was fine. That's all mechanical. It's not electrical. So they took the motor off, and the motor was wickedly fried like a piece of bacon, and smelled like it too. The wiring going to it was fine. So the plumber says, "Well, lightning hit it." Lightning? When the hell did that happen? I said, sometime today. We didn't have any lightning around here. Not that I know of. I mean, I checked with the power company. They said, well, we had a lightning strike about 10 miles away that took out a tree and came over the power lines. And he said, that's where the lightning hit. And I said, so that was on the same line that feeds my house? And they said, yeah. Oh, well, guess what? Lightning traveled about 10 miles. And also, I had found out that other people had the same problem. Excuse me, on that line. Someone else had a pump that didn't work, and something else, another pump didn't work. So it'll travel a long ways. So the rule of thumb you should do is when you leave your house, when you leave your radio room, make sure your power mains are shut off, your antennas are disconnected, everything is grounded, and don't leave everything on. Just shut everything off, and it'll save you a lot of headaches. Insurance company like that better too. So I mean, it's yeah, I can't stress it enough, because I've had some major problems with lightning. I had another time there. I had all my radio equipment. I mean, power mains were all disconnected, and I had one antenna that was not disconnected, and it was a ground link. It was a short one, all small one, ground mounted out in the dooryard, and the cabling was underground, went to my house and in my radio room. And I'm coming south on the interstate and getting towards the Philly and down towards where I used to live. The lightning was dancing all over the place, flashing everywhere. Oh, and my mom said, "Did you disconnect it?" "Oh yeah, everything's all disconnected. Should be fine." So I get home, and and I had a professional lightning arrestor put on my uh, pump circuit for my well, and also on the breaker box. I had two of them, and they worked. They were working okay, and pump was fine. So I went to turn all the radios on, hooked up all the antennas, and everything was going good. Something ain't working. There's no audio, no signals, nothing. So I turned the antenna switch to bypass on the tuner, still nothing. And then I looked at my, oh geez, I forgot to disconnect that ground plane. So I checked the ground plane, the continuity, that was fine. So then I opened up the box of the tuner. Oh yeah, that had some damage. Oh yeah, and of course that had a ground wire too. So, but it saved everything else. You know, it's too bad about the tuner. It fried that like a, it just fried it. And that was the only thing that damaged. Oh my god! I mean, that was a $300 mistake, but still, it's better paying $300 than have to pay like several $1,000s for something else. So anyway, so that's my information for you. So right now it's the 25th of March, 2021, here in Vermont, and it's supposed to be 60 degrees today, and a few sunny breaks, and then tomorrow it's supposed to cool down a little bit because we get a small cold front coming through, and they're forecasting possible thunder showers. And for you folks down there in Tennessee and Alabama, you people down there, you know all about lightning and tornadoes and stuff. Up here in the Northeast, we don't get that stuff. I mean, people say, "Oh, we had a tornado." It's, you know, if you had a tornado in your backyard, it would sound like a freight train going through your house. And we don't have those up here. Our freight trains are on a railroad track, not in the air. So anyways, everybody have a good weekend, a good day. Be safe. Don't drink and drive because you might spill your drink. That's alcohol abuse. We're going to talk to you, then read about you in the paper. And disconnect those power mains and antennas before you leave the house. Safety first. See ya.